Now on to our show with your host, Peter Mingils.
Hello, everyone. Peter Mingils here. You are listening to us on Building Fortunes Radio. It's www.buildingfortunesradio.com. If you are here live, which you may or may not be because we're doing this radio show, we usually do it on Saturday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, but we're doing this live today at 4 p.m. Eastern because Scott Johnson is here with a special guest, and I'm going to kind of realize that a lot of people are going to probably listen to this for the very first time. So just to kind of give a little bit of backdrop and framework for those people that might be listening to us for the first time, my name is Peter Mingils. We started Building Fortunes Radio towards the tail end of 2012, beginning part of 2013. So that's over a decade ago. And when we started this, I wanted a platform to be able to talk about being an entrepreneur, running a home-based business, whether you're in MLM, affiliate programs, doing something on your own. So we wanted to be able to have a microphone and a platform for people that wanted to talk about all the different things that were necessary and active to get involved in building a home-based business. So previous to that, when I was doing something with a network marketing company or planning on doing something with a home-based business, I flew up to see Dr. Charles King, who taught a real university certification course at a real university, and I was part of that whole marketing program as well. And I said to Dr. Charles, I said, listen, I really want to know the ropes of how this stuff works, because if I'm going to make this a career, I need to know the good stuff, and I need to know where the potholes are as well. I need to know where the bad players are, the good players, and that's how we got started with Building Fortunes Radio. Well, I'm going to keep my introduction a little bit short because you are going to learn a lot, I promise you. And we'll do it as educationally and entertainingly as we possibly can. But Scott Johnson's here with a really special guest, and again, I'm going to step out of the way pretty quickly. But for those people that want to hear Scott, they can always go back to buildingfortunesradio.com/Scott-Johnson, Scott- like the minus sign Johnson, and you'll be able to hear this as well as all the previous radio shows that we've done. We focus a lot on a whole bunch of things, and today is going to be like a niche call radio show / hopefully the beginning of some action steps that many of you will be able to learn from and take to make a very big difference in this industry and help a lot of people avoid some really bad things. So having said that, I'm going to kind of step out of the way pretty quickly. Scott Johnson, thanks for being here on your own radio show.
Hey, Peter, thanks for having me. Yeah, we do have a great guest today. And I just wanted to welcome David to the show. David, we're glad you're here. We know you're calling in from Israel. I think you said Jerusalem.
That is correct.
Hello, stay safe.
Hello, Scott.
And go ahead and just introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about your background, and then we can get into what you're here on the show to talk about. Go right ahead, David, and welcome to the show.
Hey, Scott. I'm glad to be on this show. I'm glad to hear the two of your voices. Over the past, I would say, a couple of years, I really became an expert. Just like you've become an expert, I've become an expert to a very harsh degree on the illegalities of scamming people. And I have to tell you that the big thing that's scamming people in the year 2024 are these insurance recruiting multi-level marketing companies. They're having a party. It could be that in the previous generation, the retail sales, the Amways, buy product, buy detergent worked. But the easiest way, the most successful multi-level marketing scam of the last couple of years has been a company called Family First Life. They literally got tens of thousands of people in their system. They don't rip them off for a couple of dozen dollars or a couple of $100. They get them for tens of thousands of dollars, and they get everyone. It's not like they're getting 50% or 60%. They're getting 99.99% are becoming victims. As I have learned the legalities of this business and the illegalities, they've had a market decline over the past few months. So right now they're really targeting younger people between 18 and 22. That seems to be what's happening. And these people, I'm in contact with state prosecutors, state investigators. As you know, a lot of people who've reached out to the FTC. I know for a fact, based on learning about the law, that the FTC is completely useless. There are laws on the books to put these people in jail, and all we have to do is let people know the proper steps to put these people in jail, because they should be in jail. That's in a nutshell. I know it's a little bit, a lot of big words, but
that's all good stuff. And David, this is Peter. So let me just kind of go backwards just a little bit. So when I was speaking with Dr. Charles King, taking a look at home-based businesses and, trying to figure this stuff out for a career, I said, Dr. Charles, it appears like people make money in the business and they can make money on the business. And what I mean by that, I'm going to go back to the Amway thing. People make money in Amway by selling the products. So you can make the commissions on that soap or whatever it might be, and the commissions are overrides based on the team that you build. And then there's people that make money on the business. Basically, they go and they sell tools back to the downline, or they sell meetings back to the downline, or they sell leads back to the downline. And that in itself is making money on the industry or on the business. And from what I've observed in the insurance MLM kind of thing is people can make money selling insurance, but they're also looked as the prey, meaning like there's a predator, meaning the upline or the company is selling things back to the people that just joined that are trying to figure out how to sell insurance, and they're unwitting victims financially in a big way, more so in the insurance industry than even the Amway tools scam industry that we talk about all of the time.
That could be the reason. That is correct.
Is that a fair backdrop?
You could replace the word tools with leads. Leads are tools. So what I learned about the law, so I might as well go into the law, which very well, if the proper steps are taken, the proper people are notified of the illegalities, the punishment is 10 years in jail. So in order to get these people caught red-handed, you can hear my videos on my interviews with the recruiters. If they say, we want you to spend XYZ amount of money, and you will make XYZ, in all probability, that's the normal circumstance, they would have to be registered as a business opportunity under the Business Opportunity Sales Act. And most of these companies aren't registered in the insurance realm, so they're automatically breaking the law. And if the average person knew what the real numbers were, there's no way they would be investing XYZ amount of money on their tools, which is in the insurance industry, it's called leads. So this is serious, serious stuff. When there was a gentleman named Christopher Coyle who filed in the state of Oklahoma on this specific law, and I publicized, and I was part of publicizing this, all the recruiting of these major multi-level marketing insurance companies stopped. They just stopped cold turkey. When I actually physically reached out to a couple of these recruiters, and because beforehand I was calling them from ZipRecruiter. Fill out something on ZipRecruiter, have a conversation, record the conversation, put it on YouTube. You could see those YouTube interviews on Family First Life Lawsuit Witness channel. If you YouTube search that, you'll see all the interviews. So at a certain point, there was no more advertising, so I had to call up their offices and say, hey, I spoke to you guys quite a few years ago, and they would tell you the same story. Invest $1,000 of leads per week, and you're going to make $10,000, 10 times your money. Completely illegal. Then you ask them, where's your income disclosure statement? They have no idea what you're talking about because they don't have an income. It's completely illegal. It's 10 years in jail criminally. It's triple damages civilly. These people are sitting ducks. They're completely breaking the law.
So if I can interrupt for a second, you said the name Christopher Coyle. Some people don't know how to spell Coyle, including myself. So how do you spell
Coyle? You could, the easiest way to see all the filings is on Reddit. If you Google the word Reddit, Family First Life, lawsuit, anti-MLM, and everything shows up there. As well, similar type of Google about Family First Life lawsuit on YouTube. It's all there, including the direct link to his filings.
So we're going to continue this on the insurance thing, but for those people who listen in, Scott and I covered this many, many years ago, many, many times ago, relative to companies like Herbalife with lead generation. So some people would wonder, if you looked at Bill Ackman when he was going after Herbalife, you would say, how in the world could somebody lose $30,000 on a nutritional shake? Like, I mean, how much stuff can you possibly buy? And what it was and what it wasn't was they weren't necessarily buying the Herbalife product. They were buying the Herbalife leads. So people would buy a lead for, I don't remember what it was, Scott, like $130, I think it was. And they were told, you have to buy all of these leads to be able to sponsor all of these distributors, to be able to make all of this money. And that's where a lot of people lost thousands of dollars, because they were buying the Herbalife leads, and the people that were making money were the lead generation guys. And they were selling these things for tons of money and just saying, got to stick with it, got to keep buying and got to keep buying. And that's how people lost tens of thousands of dollars with the lead generation portion on Herbalife. And that was done, by the way, by a couple of other guys with Vima and some other companies as well. Now, some network marketing companies did it okay. Trivita did it okay because they were running commercials on television and then selling the leads back to the people. And I'm not going to say they made a ton of money, but I know some people that are actually making money by buying leads of customers. Then Beachbody still did it. Maybe they're even still doing it, I don't know, on all different kinds of radio stations. However, the lead generation in the insurance industry, like David is referencing, brings the whole level to another level. I mean, this is just...
It's amazing.
It's a whole nother level.
They tell you with a straight...
I just want to lay the backdrop there,
David. With a straight face.
Share with us how it works.
With a straight face. This is after I've been making these videos, and there's been a class action leads fraud lawsuit that's been out there for almost 2 years. This is already... Family First Life was at its peak about 2 years ago, until they got an FTC cease and desist. The FTC cease and desist... If you read it, it says over and over the word business opportunity participant. I had no idea what they were talking about. And virtually probably no one else had any idea. But apparently Christopher Coyle did a little bit, did some research because he's in law school, and he figured out that there is something called the business opportunity law, and they're not complying with it. So, the case is shut and dry. He's in contact with his attorney general, his Department of Securities on that. So on the insurance,
let me interject real quick here, because, and I'm coming really from an Amway-centric point of view, but I think it really applies to insurance or any other MLM for that matter. Is I don't have a problem with people making money on leads and tools as long as they disclose it. They disclose not only are they making money, but how much money are they making. That's the only way that you can legitimately promote leads. Now, going back to Peter's example with Herbalife, there was a guy, and you can Google this, there was a guy by the name of John Peterson, who was a very, very high-ranking distributor with Herbalife back in the early, 20-teens. And then the FTC came out with this edict, or I think Herbalife did, but it was probably being pushed by the FTC soon after the FTC announced they were investigating Herbalife. And they said, okay, within 6 months, we're going to give you a 6-month window, but you have to wind down your lead generation business within 6 months. Well, towards the end of that 6 months, John Peterson was found in the driveway of his home, one of his homes, I should say, in Colorado, and he had put a bullet through his head. Wow. Now, I don't know John Peterson. I never knew him. I don't know, what demons he had in his mind. But he was making tons of money from lead generation, and that was being wound down. I believe he did it because his main source of income was going away, and he had way too much overhead. He had been fooling so many different people that he was financially successful from Herbalife when he was really financially successful mainly from the lead generation, that he just couldn't handle it. And so those are some of the things that are going on here as far as lead generation, whether it's Herbalife or insurance. And I know, David, you have some more specifics as far as the lead generation that's going on in insurance. And it'd probably be good to expand on that a little bit, just to let the audience know what is happening with lead generation. How much are they charging? How good are the leads? All these sorts of things.
Okay, Scott, let me mention to you, it's when people go into a new business, there's really a 3-week, 4-week, 5-week, maybe 6-week window where these people are really excited. So you can get them for a lot of money at that beginning first few weeks. It just so happens in the Family First Life, I say Integrity Marketing Group system, they get them for $1,000 to $2,000 a week, which is not even normal. And I just have to, and we may or may not know this, but if you look at the do not call lawsuits that Family First Life and Integrity Marketing are going through, and I've spoken to people, I've interviewed one gentleman who's in his 30s. He got 50 phone calls. He's averaged 50 phone calls a day. So in the insurance realm, people between 60 and 70 years old, on average, they're getting 50 phone calls a day. No one's picking up the phone. When you get that many phone calls from Pakistanis and Filipinos, you will never fill out anything online, like ever. No one's getting a sure.
Can we stop there for 1 second? So we're kind of educating our audience while we're doing this. So while we're doing this, here's the way the foreign telemarketers work. So these First, Family, Life, and probably other insurance guys, and I'm speculating here, so I don't have firsthand knowledge of this, but this is what I'm guessing is probably happened. So I'm throwing out my disclaimer here. I'm speculating that this is probably happening. But what happens is these guys wound up selling leads to their downline. And the more leads you sell to your downline, the more leads you need to produce. So that creates a problem. So let's talk about a legitimate problem. So I sell these guys, say for instance, I'm the upline, I sell the downline into this leads thing, and then all of a sudden, now I have a problem. I have to generate the leads that I just sold. So then they go to these foreign telemarketers who basically will take whatever money they can possibly take. When they take that money, they start calling through databases of whoever they can call through. And they'll call through these, and they, by the way, I just got to tell you, they suck at database management because they have a room full of people, and in that room full of people, they have to keep those people on the phone. So they churn through the same lists over and over and over again. So therefore, that's why somebody might get 5 phone calls in an hour, 5 phone calls in a day. And all of these foreign telemarketing companies know each other because they've all worked for each other one way or another. So they share their databases. So you'll have telemarketing company number 1 who just is churning through the same list over and over and over again, trading a list with telemarketing company number 2, who trades a list with telemarketing company number 3, who trades that list that he just got back to telemarketing company number 1, and you could see a cesspool of a cluster mess of these poor people getting 50, you'd say, how in the world could you get 50 phone calls in a day? That's the way it happens. And they never take you off the list. They never take you off the list. So they use they try to do everything. They try to use, fake caller IDs. They try to do whatever they possibly can. And they try to basically, because they're in a foreign country, they try to make sure that they're not trackable. But eventually somebody nails them. And when somebody nails them, that's when the FTC goes in and says, look at this. And then they go and look at the records, and they wind up with these huge friggin' robocall FTC fines of, $800 million. Because they realize that these people made thousands and thousands and thousands of phone calls every day. And by the time they're done with their FTC math, they're suing them into oblivion. So I just wanted, and David, you can correct or compliment or clarify anything.
To an extent, what you're saying is correct. I did interview a gentleman who's on the verge of filing a lawsuit. He really investigated the matter. He said when a person picks up the phone, the value of his phone number becomes greater. So they're able to sell that phone number to other places. So
That is true.
they'll get calls. So if you pick up the phone a couple of times and maybe agree to an appointment, you're going to get 50 phone calls a day. So literally no one is picking up the phone nowadays. If you go to, as I mentioned in the video that was recently published to YouTube that mentioned Steve Young being the king scammer, NFL Hall of Fame quarterback. You go to the local supermarket, you speak to anyone who's 65 years old, you ask them, do you ever pick up your phone? He's going to tell you he never picks up his phone. No one's picking up the phone anymore.
Correct.
The leads don't exist. So these insurance MLM companies that are selling leads are selling something that does not exist. So it's pure scam, pure fraud.
But they're getting young people to buy into it. That's the problem.
Right now, they're only getting people in the early 20s, people that even after they get ripped off have a tendency not to sue, not to complain. So I've got my formula, what people should do, and it's foolproof. It works. There's a gentleman in the state of California named Kevin Knight. He told me what to do, and he walked away with $1 million. I believe he got $1 million. Somewhere around $1 million he got. When someone is harming you and it involves a lot of other people, you're supposed to complain to the Attorney General. That's what you're supposed to do. The Attorney General in California gave him a referral to sue, Family First Life. He got that referral. I'm on the phone with him. He's teaching me about his situation of what I didn't know, which I didn't know about the Attorney General, State Attorney General, not federal, not FTC. And he got a list of attorneys. I spoke to his attorney. His attorney's name happened to be Yitz Weiss out of Los Angeles, California. The gentleman was very tight-lipped. But he admitted, hey, I'm his attorney. Kevin was always telling me I'm filing next week. At a certain point, the lawsuit was written. He was about to file. Then afterwards, he doesn't pick up the phone. I've seen from court documents that Family First Life admits that they had a EEOC, a racism complaint from the federal government that was canceled, which is from Kevin Knight, as well as they say, hey, we never got a lawsuit from Kevin Knight. So I'm 100% certain that Kevin Knight walked away with $1 million right before he filed the lawsuit, which is the proper technique. So the key of this whole business is to understand what fraud is being done on you. If you could point out the law when you make the letter to the Attorney General, that would probably help. And I could tell you that you've got these business opportunity laws that are as clear as day. If anyone says to you, invest so much money and you'll get so much in return, and they're not registered and they're not compliant, these people are sitting ducks. Obviously it's better to get a referral from the Attorney General, because the judge will look at that like, hey, these people got a referral from the Attorney General and you actually want to take this to court, you're going to lose. Just pay them the money. But what I've been highly recommending to people as well, because it's a social media scam and these people are highly dependent on scamming other people, and it's sometimes it's hard for the Attorney General to understand a written piece of paper. So it's always good to make a YouTube video describing what happened to you, upload it to the YouTube. Immediately thereafter, if you get lucky, you'll get a lawsuit threat from the MLM scammer, because these MLMs they're used to dealing with people that are really have a lot of psychological problems that are very easy to scare. So they may send you an email, say, hey, please take it down or we'll take legal action. But you could always Google the word federal defamation law, Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, very simple law. You would have to be malicious, lying, and know you're lying, which probably a good idea when you make the video. Don't know you're lying. So you really have nothing to worry about. It's just a lawsuit threat. But of course, if you've got that lawsuit threat with your letter to the Attorney General, that is really easy for these people to understand. You would CC that as well to the Department of Securities, which is a separate department which investigates and prosecutes on the business opportunity laws. And this is a formula that will work. This formula, me spewing this formula, is really the reason why the MLMs in the insurance industry have literally stopped recruiting. Because and
that Department of Security is also a state level agency.
Right, it's a state level agency. It's a little bit confusing because the Department of Securities in the insurance industry, you got the Department of Insurance, then you've got the Attorney General. The Department of Insurance will only investigate insurance fraud. In the case of Family First Life Integrity Marketing Group, there are instances of churning where if you sell the same lead to 20 different people, what Family First Life does, which is mentioned on the Steve Young scammer video, they tell the new people coming in to sell an exorbitantly priced product, then the managers replace that product afterwards. So that would be insurance fraud, but you would have to give specific examples. It gets a little bit confusing. The Attorney General, of course, would be general fraud of lead, selling something, hey, this is a live exclusive lead, and it's really not. Of course, that's there's a law on that. But the easiest thing for the prosecutor, the government to understand is business opportunity law, income disclosure statement. That's 10 years in jail. It's just too easy. So if anyone who got scammed by an MLM, get these. If you live in a state where you're allowed to record phone calls, just very quick. Hey, what am I expected to make? How much am I supposed to put in? Where's your income disclosure statement? Boom, done. End of story. These people are looking at jail time.
Yep, good stuff. Good stuff.
I mean,
because it's not just the leads that's the problem; it's that reselling of insurance policies, right, David? You're talking about these insurance MLM distributors are being instructed to sell overpriced insurance, and then the managers come in later, the upline essentially, and they resell them lower cost insurance, and so they get double the benefit.
Right. That's just another ad, but that's a little bit harder to prove. That's a little bit more complicated, but the business opportunity stuff is just so easy. I was on the phone with one of these securities investigators just a couple of days ago, and the impetus of the video which I put out about Steve Young being the king scammer is because on his conversation, he told me, hey, I know these people. I want them to. I said to him, I said to him, hey, if the head people don't go to jail, it's just going to continue. And his words were, I agree. I know what you're talking about, and he wanted to put an end to this. But so the video that I made calling Steve Young the king scammer was to him and his team and the other attorney generals what they have to be looking at, which is to get the king scammer, which is Integrity Marketing Group. They own multiple insurance lead selling MLMs.
Yeah, Peter and I have talked about this issue many times on this show. We've been doing it weekly for over 8 years now, how the leaders tend to get away with things, and they just start another MLM, and then they go from one MLM to another. And it's just amazing how few people, really, when you think about it, there's just a handful of people that are running all these different MLMs, jumping from one MLM to another, or jumping from an MLM and creating a new one, and just starting the whole process over and over again. And it's frustrating that the government doesn't go after the top dog, because I think that would solve a lot of what we're talking about here. And certainly, we've also talked about the issue of these famous people. Usually they don't own the companies. Usually they promote the companies. And I don't believe that most of the people, whether it be, I think they're just, doing what they do as far as getting paid for it, to do a promotion. And so I don't think there's anything inherently evil in these people. However, they don't do their research. There's no doubt about that. But the thing is, a lot of people look up to famous people, and certainly Steve Young is one of those, just a very well-known football player,
right?
From the past, but just really good football player, and his name equals money. And when he's involved in something as nefarious, particularly if he's the chairman, then that would definitely be target number one in my book as well.
I have to mention, if anyone needs money, like, people wake up in the morning, they need money. All you have to do, I don't want to, entrap people, but it's not hard to do. I've made multiple calls to these recruiting companies, and they all say the same thing. They all say, buy 1,000 of leads, you'll 10 times your money. The average income is $20,000 a month. Anyone look up Family First Life. They've got 20, 30 offices. Speak to the recruiter. If you happen to live in California or New York where you're not allowed to record conversations, maybe take a day trip to Texas so you can record the conversation. But there's enough evidence on the YouTube playlist that has my videos, them saying that over and over. And, buy $5 of leads. Get an insurance license. Immediately thereafter, do the YouTube video describing what happened to you. Hopefully you'll get a cease and desist lawsuit threat. Send the letter to the Attorney General and the Department of Securities. File the lawsuit. And if you happen to have Googled the word, google.com, Family First Life, Steve Young, on the video mode, you'll see a video which is still up. And this video has Steve Young, not only the chairman of the board, but he's saying it's a great company. And that's if one says that Steve Young influenced them in wasting their money and time, he would have to explain to the local court like what happened. And he will lose, so of course he doesn't want to lose, so he'll just pay you money. So if anyone needs money, it's a pretty easy way to make money.
Do you know if these insurance MLMs require you to go into arbitration versus sue them in court?
If you Family First Life, which was the granddaddy of the MLM scammers, they were advertising all over the place that there's no contracts for years, and they may still be doing that, but. But I know that people, when they had some issues, they wanted to leave. They made them sign a contract. It stated something arbitration in Connecticut if it's first to file. So, like, there was a couple of people I spoke to who I said make a video, but I had a feeling if they made a video, Family First Life would have taken them to arbitration in Connecticut. So I told those people not to make a video.
Yeah, I mentioned that because that's becoming very common in MLM now. Is when you join an MLM, part of what's in the contract is that you say you're going to use arbitration and not sue. However, the courts have also decided that if the agreement is so one-sided, if it's so unfair, that they can overrule that arbitration requirement, and they can be successful in court. So I just want to point that out. Even if arbitration is required, there is a little loophole there. If the conditions are so extreme that it doesn't make any sense to sort of tuck it away in an arbitration hearing. It needs to come out in open court. And that would be great to be able to do a class action lawsuit, too. I think some of these that you mentioned, David, are class action lawsuits, right?
One of the issues about the business opportunity laws, they're state-based. So you would have to do a class action in a particular state. Regarding the arbitration, it's going to be based on first to file. So... And even if these Family First Life, the insurance companies will never sue the agent. It's always will be because they don't want to, open up a can of worms. Because the vast majority of people who get ripped off will never do anything. But the initial contract to bring these people in the industry was based on illegalities. So the contract is void. Even if there is a written contract, it's a non-legal binding contract. If you look at the Christopher Coyle filings in Oklahoma, that's one of the points he brought up. If you lie to someone to get into a contract and he signs his name, it's not a legal contract.
Yeah, I just want to make sure people understand, just because there's an arbitration requirement does not mean that's, 100% safe. When I say safe, I mean from the MLM perspective, that can be overruled if the initial contract, like you say, is so unfair. You can't just get somebody to agree to something that's illegal and then say, oh, now you have to go into arbitration. That doesn't sit very well with the attorneys general. So,
Scott, I've got more information. If you look at the Reddit anti-MLM family first life lawsuits, scroll down, there's a lot of information there. There's actually case law on that particular subject. The MLM famous attorney out of Boston, Massachusetts, I'm not sure what his name is. Maybe you know his name. He's from Boston area. And he actually won a case based on that particular issue where it was Amway or something similar, where the judge ruled that the pyramid scheme is contrary to public policy, and there was he nulled and voided the arbitration. So it went to open court based on that court ruling. So there is case law on that specific subject. Right.
Yeah, and certainly, particularly up in the Northeast, that might come in handy. Now, if you're in California or Texas, that precedent may not apply because, the courts are in different regions of the country. So you have to be careful on which lawsuits you can rely on. And, Peter, I'm trying to remember, who's the guy? He's very prominent in the anti-MLM area as an attorney. And I think he's up in the Boston area.
That is the attorney. He's in his 80s or 90s by now.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of his name. Peter, can you think of who I'm trying to think of? I know he was part of the Herbalife, the movie, Betting on Zero. He's been at the MLM conferences. I just can't bring his name to mind.
Right. Reddit Family First Life Lawsuits, anti-MLM, it pops up. You read it. You'll actually see the case law in his name.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay, and so if I can just if I can just jump in one more time. I want to set the example because some people might be thinking that because I'm not in insurance, this doesn't apply to me. So here's the way it works. The distributor gets excited about the opportunity, and then people are going to, meaning the system or the upline, is going to say, here's how you're going to build it. And they start charging for something. So in this example with insurance, is they start charging for leads. And they do what we call, MLM math, just like they do 5 by 5 by 5 by 5 by 5 by 5, and everybody's in the planet, is in the industry. The MLM math usually goes, you've seen it before, you have X amount of people in your compensation, and you have 3 by 10, and eventually you're going to make $5 million a month. That's MLM math. Well, they do the MLM math and say, if you buy $1,000 in leads, you're going to make X amount of money. So you're told to go buy $1,000 in leads for 4 weeks or 5 months or whatever it is in a row. And then pretty soon they'll blame you for not being able to convert the leads, or who the hell knows what's going to happen next. But somebody made money on that $1,000 that you paid per week or per month or whatever it might have been. And that's where the con starts. And then they just churn. They churn through another one and another one and another one. It happens in insurance. We shared with you how it happened in Herbalife. It's happened in other industries as well. And the thing that I just want to say is it's not only the insurance industry that we're referencing here. 8-Figure Dream Lifestyle, if you remember that one, they got in trouble for robocalls because they were doing it with a modified gifting program. This happens all the time in our industry, and it's not just insurance. However, these guys have honed it to perfection, where they've gotten away with it for a really long time. And it wasn't until this gentleman that we have as our guest starts really highlighting it and going after it and educating people how to go after the people that are the bad players. And in combination with that and the other stuff the FTC has done on robocalls, that the heat is really on the insurance industry. So So, David, I just want to kind of lay the foundation for those people that might be thinking, well, I'm not insurance, so this stuff doesn't apply to me. It probably does.
It's the same thing, but it's the same thing. If the guy says to invest so much money and you'll make so much money, the number that he's going to tell you what the average income is will be based on a lie. It's just made up numbers. So it's fraud. It's contrary to business opportunity law. It's 10 years in jail. It's civil penalties. Boom, you're done.
There we go. Perfect. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of making sure that our Building Forces Radio listening audience understands that it's not just insurance. It could be $100 a month through websites. It could be like some of the people in the Amway uplines do it. You know, you come to the meetings and the events, the tools, the systems, all of that sort of stuff. When there's losers in the equation, there might be some fraud in there as well. Somebody's making money, and it's probably not going to be you. So I just want to kind of mention that. Now, the funny thing is, and I got to throw, you mentioned a YouTuber that gets under our skin every once in a while. Kind of fled the continent, he claims, but these idiots, they don't even see what we just highlighted. They blame other things. they blame like the idea that selling insurance is the issue. These friggin' idiots don't even understand where the real fraud comes from relative to this. So back to you. This
particular YouTuber, I was very specific. I gave him the link to the Christopher Collin. I said, hey, call Christopher what's his name? Christopher Coyle. Get him on an interview, link at this. This ends the whole thing. This guy made massive videos about various multi-level marketing insurance companies, and it's like, this ends the whole thing. It's nice to talk about MLMs for a long time, but this is the law that was enacted, that was recommended by the FTC 10 years ago. 23 states enacted the identical law. The states that did not enact this identical law, they have something similar. It's still fraud. It's still illegal. But the big states of Georgia, Florida, Texas, California, Illinois, Ohio, they all have this law, and it's not hard to.
Well, part of the reason why they're running down the wrong. Well, hold on a second.
Yeah, part of the reason your input, David.
Yeah, and he didn't want anything to do with it. He's like, I don't care. Yeah, you don't care. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. So we have a moniker for him. He goes by Always and then his name. Well, we call him Always Stupid and then his name.
Right. He did not care.
Always stupid.
He did not care.
So consistently stupid.
He didn't care.
He's just stupid.
The guy has he has a decent audience. He made one really good video which he took down, which happens to be on the Family First Life lawsuit YouTube channel. So I don't want to say that bad thing. We've got it on our channel so people could see it. I believe it's up to 80,000 views. So he's a nice guy that he made a video that it's not on his channel, but it's on Family First Life lawsuit witness channel. But the fact is, these MLM companies are, because of what I learned from Christopher Coyle, these MLM companies are easy to take down. The FTC is completely useless. Like even clicking a couple of buttons to complain to these people it's not worth it. I guess it's worth it to an extent, but it's like meaningless.
It's not as effective. Well, one of the things I just got to continue to throw that Always Stupid guy under the bus is they follow the wrong guy. They're all following Robert Fitzpatrick and the other stuff on the MLM conference or the anti-MLM conference that was talking about an endless chain, 5 by 5 by 5, the whole world's going to be an MLM, and they run down that track. So they're blinded and biased where when they don't even look for the stuff that you're talking about here, David, and they basically don't want to talk about it because it doesn't fit their story or their agenda or the way they were trained. They were trained wrong. They still think it's all about the endless chain, whereas there's real fraud in some of the things you're referencing here. Now, I have another question is, and I don't know if this opens up a can of worms, but is Family First Life, FFL, the only one that has this, or are there others?
Okay, what happened was quite a few years ago, Steve Young and the CEO of Integrity Marketing Group got together. There's a newspaper article on this. the CEO says to Steve Young, hey, we're looking for investors. You're an investment banker. You own some big hedge fund. Why don't we give you a huge chunk of our company? In fact, we'll give you more of our company than anyone else, than the last guy who wanted, and we'll give you a greater percentage because your name is Steve Young, and we could put you as chairman of the board, which is a super celebrity endorsement. Subsequent to that, Integrity Marketing Group, which was started off as a Medicare marketer. They were recruiting companies recruiting insurance agents to sell Humana, United Healthcare, Aetna, which is a very profitable part of the insurance business because it's paid by the federal government. Huge commissions, huge profits. But the problem on that part of the bit, like they always need agents. So with the investment money of Steve Young, he bought Family First Life, who came up with this incredible way for the rah to get new people in. So once he bought this first company, Family First Life, then it was National Agents Alliance, Equus Financial, North American Senior Benefits, and a bunch of others. So this is their recruiting mill, their recruiting pipeline. It's very hard to fill up pipeline of football stadiums of salespeople who are all excited, and the ones that get so excited and sign up are going to be people in the early 20s who, based on social media. And so the formula that once they figure out that Family First Life can bring in people based on these YouTube videos, like they just up the ante. Like all the other companies are doing the same thing, and these are primarily Integrity Marketing Group companies.
Got it.
So which companies are under the Integrity Marketing Group directly?
You could see on their website where it has companies. They own about 50 to 100 different companies, but their fastest growing ones before I got involved and sort of made a big dent. It was Family First Life, Equus Financial, North American Senior Benefits, PHP Agency, which is Patrick David. You may have seen him on YouTube, TikTok, and a few others.
So that's a big thing. So Steve Young's company owned or bought PHP?
All these companies they bought because Steve Young's company had the top contracts from all the insurance companies. So based on that, they could they could make money on everyone coming in, and they had this MLM sell lead. And really what it was is they figured out that when the people first come in, you could get them for $1,000 a week on leads, $300, $400, $500. You could get, so you're not going to lose money on recruiting. Like everyone who comes in, you're going to make money because they lose. And an incredibly small amount of people will complain, and almost no one will sue. So it was almost like a happy time. Like no one is suing. It's like I would speak to these people. I say like, why don't you like sue? Why don't you like? But because they're recruiting broke people who spend 3, 4, 5, 6 months of their life in this system, and they're more broke afterwards. They have no funds. They have no chance. Like no one is suing, which is amazing.
Yeah, when you're young, you don't have the money to sue.
These are the brokest.
What they're taking advantage of.
These are the brokest people. Right? The brokest people in the world come into this industry of insurance sales. I would speak to these people on the phone when they say mortgage protection. They say final expense mortgage protection. Build a team, buy leads. That's MLM. I know it. Like off the, instinctively. These people.
Yeah, and just backing up for just a quick minute here, that attorney you were talking about, is it Doug Brooks or Douglas Brooks?
Yeah, I believe it's Douglas Brooks. So you could see his case law on that particular issue.
Right. Yeah, he's been involved in several. Most of what I've seen is class action lawsuits, and most of them, of course, settle out of court. and the people that he represents, as far as the class, they make pennies on the dollar from whatever the settlement is, whereas typically a class action lawyer will get somewhere between 25% and 1/3 of the settlement. So I'm pretty sure Doug Brooks has cleaned up pretty well over the years with class action lawsuits. The people he represents, not so much. They get a very small percentage of the returns that they put into it. So I don't have a whole lot of faith in the class action lawsuit avenue, but it is something to where you can at least bring some publicity to what's going on, if not total recovery. I tend to agree with what you're saying, though, David. Go after these people directly, through the Attorney General for your state, and make those videos, get those lawsuit threats, get the endorsement of the Attorney General.
And you're good.
File a lawsuit.
You won the lottery. It's the equivalent of winning the lottery. It's really that easy. And of course, once a couple of these get publicity or it actually happens, the owner of the company just decides to do something else, because there's no way they could afford to rip off people anymore if people actually do this plan of action.
Yeah, and the key thing is people have to take action. Yep. That's been my number one complaint ever since I found out about the Amway tool scam, as I call it, in 2005. My major complaint is that people do not work together to go against these big companies, and it's really frustrating, because we have a good story. It's just that if you're just an individual, it's really difficult. But if you work together, I think we could have a lot more influence.
You don't.
But I really like your idea.
You don't have to work together. You don't have to work together. If you need if you're a little bit short of cash, you need that couple $100,000. These companies will pay out this. There's no trial. There's no filing of lawsuit. As soon as an attorney says, "Today is Monday. I'm filing on Thursday. I want $200,000 before I file," there's a huge chance that they'll get that $200,000 check before the filing happens. And you'll have to sign a do not disclose. Yeah,
that's the rub. Is the individual can benefit, which is fine. I'm not against that. But to shut these things down overall, we need a lot of individuals doing the same thing, or else the companies are going to just see it as a business expense.
Right.
If it's one or two people, they can write it off.
Well, that's why I'm on this call. That's why I'm made that really good video. If anyone wants to see it, Steve Young, the King Scammer, Family First Life. It'll pop up on YouTube, and there's another. In fact, you don't even have to. If anyone's part of this particular insurance, in fact, if you go to Robert Cooper's video that he made just a couple of weeks ago, he actually published as a comment on his YouTube the letter he wrote to the Attorney General. So if someone is not intellectually gifted in the English language, especially in this industry, which is Family First Life Insurance, you could really just copy and paste his letter to your Attorney General. It's in
Good deal.
It's in comments.
That name again is Cooper. What is it?
Right.
Name?
It's on the playlist. If you YouTube search Family First Life lawsuit playlist, you'll see it. He's in his 20s, blonde from California.
Gotcha.
You'll see him. He's right at the top of the playlist. So in comments, you'll see his letter to the Attorney General.
While we were talking, I was looking. You said something about integrity. I did a little bit of Google search. So if you go to integrity.com/partner or partners, you'll be able to see the list of companies that are under this integrity. Would that be?
That is correct.
So you'll see Family First Life there. You'll see a whole bunch of other companies. I mean, it's almost, I don't know if it's enough to be a monopoly. Yeah, but it seems like a major player for sure.
Correct. Yeah, I hate to break the net. They've spent, no joke, I'm not exaggerating, they've spent $5 million on legal fees against me. No joke. So, of course, me not wanting to spend any money on attorney fees, I say, hey, I might as well figure out what these people are doing and why they're willing to spend that type of money on me. So I really know my stuff. So if anyone wants to contact me personally, all you have to do is go to gusfox.com, and I'll get the message and we'll have a conversation. But the first thing I'll tell you is make a video. If you don't make a video, it's what's the point? To get in a referral from your attorney general is hard. This 30-year-old kid who graduated law school has to be convinced and understand what happened. There's no better medium than video. And as a kicker, as a bonus, if that causes the MLM scammer to send you a lawsuit threat, it just makes it all the more convincing.
Well, this is an interesting show because we've never jumped this much into the insurance industry. We were always questioning whether the insurance MLM industry had retail sales or not. And I would suppose that they would have some retail sales if they're doing it the traditional way. They may get a few retail sales from the leads that they might be buying, but I guess, has anyone ever really looked at the numbers of what somebody's been spending? And even if 80% of the leads are bullshit, if they're still closing a certain percentage and they're making a boatload of money on insurance, is actually anyone making money on this insurance leads portion of this part of the business model?
It was possible a couple of years ago before when no one started filling out any form on any medium. It was possible to buy leads and make money, but it's not possible today because no one's filling out anything. But
the overabundance of crappy telemarketing and bullshit on lead generation. I hear it.
So what's going to happen is, but people get licenses. They make a couple of sales even to their family members or their neighbor, or they may figure out they want to stay in this business, so they'll do their own Facebook or Facebook type of marketing. Or my favorite lead generation technique is called incentive-based marketing. In fact, if you go to gusfox.com, they'll give you a free website. And there are people out there who use this as an incentive-based marketing tool where you offer websites to business owners, then you sell them insurance. So, there are people who make money in insurance sales, but it's just the legalities of these insurance MLMs really comes down to hey, sign up, spend money, you'll make money, which is completely made up numbers. And it is fraud and it is illegal.
So again, the website, GusFox, GUSFOX.com.
I might as well mention this to you guys as well. This is a real lead system, which is based on skill sets. And of course, being in a business, it's probably a good idea to have some sort of website. So you could certainly go there yourself, sign up. The website is created immediately. Advertisements pop up on that. They say free, which is nice to get people in the system. Then ads pop up. To get rid of the ads, it's only $12 a month. Then from there, when you realize, hey, this is pretty good stuff to be coming across as a professional person, there are people who in the insurance business who actually say, hey, they get a huge list of plumbers or electricians. They go to those people and say, hey, look at my website. I'm an expert on websites. I'm an expert at moving up the search engine, and I could do something similar for you for free even. And Gus Fox has a program where eventually ads will pop up on those plumbers' websites, and the insurance agent will get half the revenue, which is not a lot of money, but it gives them an excuse to talk to people. But people in the insurance business do make money if their brain is working, just like any business. It just so happens that these MLM, family first, life integrity marketing type companies, they're just doing plain out fraud. They're risking going to jail, but because there's been minimal knowledge or awareness of the laws that are on the books, they've just been having a party for the last couple of years. But of course, this Gus Fox and myself and you, hopefully, because it doesn't really take a lot of people to do this proper steps. Steve Young or Sean Mikey or Patrick Bet-David, these people don't want to go to jail. And they are breaking the law. They should be in jail. And it's not hard for the prosecutors to prosecute.
So I've never jumped into I've never jumped into what Patrick Bet David does, although I've been always a fan of him on YouTube with his value tainment stuff. But I've always noticed that he never mentions PHP, or hardly ever does. Sometimes it gets blurted out. He squashes it. He calls himself an insurance company. Did they have a big portion of their business coming through this type of lead generation, or were they doing it in a different way?
They were doing it.
He's definitely got a got a cult-like following.
I'll give you the answer. Okay, the answer is he did it a little bit different, or a lot different than Family First Life, Equus Financial, National Agents Alliance. He actually did the traditional Prime America, World Financial Group technique, bring in new people, 25-30% commission. The normal commission is really 100%. So you're talking about people that are accepting 1/3 the commission level, which is a little bit weird. Like, why would don't you do any investigation before you sign up? And they would use these. And this is what Prime America is doing now. This is what World Financial Group is doing now. So PHP Agency of Patrick Bet David was another company to compete with these people. Like, same technique. So they get them in, they give them the rah. I believe it's a $200 registration fee. They promise the same thing, which is, hey, the average income is a lot of money. In fact, you'll see an interview I did with one of their recruiters. The gentleman's name is Sahid Abdallah from Florida. You can hear that interview. I believe it's a 35-minute video. He's breaking the law. Of course, the conversation was, what am I supposed to invest? What am I supposed to make on average? And so as soon as they do that, they're breaking the law. So I was kind enough to tell him, hey, by the way, you're breaking the law. It's 10 years in jail. Do you want to apologize or something? But in the meantime, Patrick Bet David, he got he got a lot of people until about 3-4 years ago. Then he ended up selling his company to Integrity Marketing. And I have to tell you, Patrick Bet David, his company was not making a lot of money. Nowhere close to this Family First Life, because the people that they brought in made no sales and they didn't buy leads. They just paid the $100 or $200 registration fee and nothing happened. So the scam in that is really that the managers would have these new people write out a list of their family members, and the new recruit and the experienced agent will go to their families and sell them policies. So these people are really being used as a referral tool to sell policies to their family members.
So in essence, not the lead generation fraud, just basically, a lot of people coming in and sharing through a lot of people.
Right, so they come in and they leave.
He keeps them together because he runs such a tight organization where people like cult-like followers, and you can see how he's basically built his value tainment brand over that as well.
Right. Well, he was.
I'm gonna say smart enough to get out.
Yeah, he was smart. The guy's smart. Like, he's not gonna mention insurance now because he knows it's riddled with fraud. Even though per se he's not breaking the law based on the Prime America PHP system, but when the recruiters are telling people, hey, the average income is $10,000 a month, that's where the law is breaking, right. And he could go to jail for that. So he just says, hey, I don't want anything to do with this. I'm leaving. So if you look at the CEO of even Family First Life, if you go to his webpage, he's also not mentioning Family First Life on his webpage. These people know that they're breaking the law and they want to get out, but this idiot company called Integrity Marketing and Steve Young, they're holding the bag. They've got such deep pockets. They've collected a few $1 billion of investment capital. Whatever lawsuit, whatever judgment they get, they will pay. If anyone needs to sue...
Another thing we've heard from the insurance MLMs, David, I don't know, maybe this is even common in a non-insurance MLM, is that when a new person comes in, even before they get their license, or maybe even if they have their brand new license, their upline, their mentor, is the one that actually signs up their contacts and takes the the benefit from that, right? They take that money, and then the person that just got in has to go out and find new leads to make their own money by selling the insurance policies. Is that something that's common in the insurance industry, or is that's really mainly just in the MLM industry?
That's the There's 3 companies that are doing that. That's PHP, Prime America, and World Financial Group. That's their technique. But remember, they're bringing in. In fact, I watched one of Patrick Bet-David's videos, and the guy says, "We're reaching out to the underserved market, which is Latino females." Meaning like everything's discrimination, but he's the good guy bringing in Latino females, which is a little bit on the silly side because it's, that he's looking for people that aren't really suitable for the business that could provide a couple sales for their experienced agents. That's really what it is.
Those new people are actually the lead generators for their upline.
Right. Stereotypes are pretty accurate. White guys tend to do well in financial sales. So if you've got a company saying specifically, we don't like these white guys in our company, there's something a little bit weird.
Yep. I know Peter and I talked about this last week a little bit, and that's the new Amway rules. And Peter, if we didn't have David on this week, I would have talked about this, and I'll talk about it more on a future show. But I'm looking at the new Amway rules that just came out in January of 2024, and I'm going through. There's probably about 5 or 6 pictures of people, and every single one of them, and some of the pictures have multiple people in them, every single picture except for one is a minority. And yet, when you look at the people that are either at the Amway Corporation or the upline, the top dogs in the Amway distributorships, it's much more the white male. Right. And it's just amazing how they're taking advantage of the minorities in this way, making it look like, oh, yeah, this is a minority-friendly business. It's the same concept, a little bit different technique, but same exact concept.
The gentleman whose great-great-grandparents came from the Mayflower, when he gets ripped off, he's much more likely to file a proper complaint in a proper lawsuit. A gentleman who or a female in particular, females are actually less likely to complain. They're more likely to just say, hey, it's part of life. I really don't understand these forms that I would have to fill out, and just move on. So they're much less likely to do a proper complaint if they're from a ethnic group that has lower English language skills.
Exactly. Even if you do have traditional American, let's call it, not an American Indian, but someone that was born here as an American. There was a video done by Bill Ackman with Herbalife years ago, where there was 4 different sets of people, either singles or couples, being interviewed, and one of the questions that was asked of them is, did you complain to the FTC? And all of them said no, except for one woman, and she said, yes, I did, but only because my sister is an attorney and she told me to. Right. Now, that's not a statistically significant sample.
It is.
But it is an indication of exactly what you're saying, David. Most people don't even know the FTC exists or the Attorney General exists.
I didn't know.
So
I had no idea
about to have you on the show to explain all of this.
I had no idea. I was in long conversations with the people at the FTC's office. The woman was so nice. She says, call back, other people have called, and I had no idea I was completely wasting my time. I had no idea until I found out later that the FTC has their laws that they're able to regulate things in a certain manner, but it's the state that has the meat law. They're the ones to complain to. So I tried to express that to the gentleman, that YouTube guy who is in Thailand right now. I'm sure he's having a good time there, as well as there's another Canadian, a Canadian woman. explain that to as well, but they don't seem to. But when they're Canadian, it's understand that they're not as into the proper way to do stuff. They're from a different country.
Was that Julie Anderson?
That is correct.
Yes. Yeah, she's, I've called her a nut job. She was actually on the show a few months ago. But yeah, she's just wild. She's just out of control.
But they're from Canada. You don't expect. The American system is a little bit complicated because there's so many different departments. Even when a person does a regulation to the Attorney General, you have to CC that to the Department of Securities. Then you have to make sure the Department of Securities, speaks to the Attorney General and there's someone probably in that state office that brings all these three offices together, which includes the Department of Insurance. So ideally any of these states could shut them down.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on your FTC comment, I largely agree because I was talking with an FTC attorney, this has been several years ago now, and I said, look, I've got this website that lays out all of the different aspects. It's got all these different sources, cases or newspaper articles or personal statements, being made online, and there's plenty of evidence here to go after Amway. And she said, well, that's not how our system works. The way the FTC system works is they have to get X number of complaints, and after they get that minimum number of complaints, then they will start an investigation. I asked her what the minimum number is, and of course she refused to tell me. And so, it becomes this labyrinth. It becomes this maze trying to get through the FTC. It is not something that's easy or simple. It really takes a large number of people complaining, which, again, I encourage people to do, but also shouldn't expect to complain to the FTC and they're going to just, take action immediately. That's not how it works. And to their credit, I have to say they have a lot of different areas of business that they regulate. MLM is just one tiny sliver, and they only have so many people, and they have to allocate their resources in a smart fashion. It's just frustrating when you go to them with the whole story, and they say, nope, we don't have that minimum number yet. So
right, I get you. It would have been nice for the person to tell you, hey, the states have the laws, and and that's where you want to take legal action, and the governmental authorities there. It would have been, but they don't even say that.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Yeah, all she did was say that's not how our process works, and that was pretty much the end of it. There's nowhere you can go from there. So it is frustrating because both of us know a lot of things that are being done wrong and illegally, not just wrong ethically or morally, but legally, that you can really pin these people down with. And I think you just came up with a great roadmap for all of us to follow and to learn from and get some results. So we really appreciate that. Peter, did you have anything else you wanted to mention?
No, not really. This has really been a very interesting, enlightening, and new radio show for a lot of people that are probably listening in, so they can jump into this and kind of learn a little bit more about this. And I really never focused on the insurance industries with MLM as far as studying them. But, as soon as I heard about the lead generation, I'm like, okay, there's where the fraud is. I did not know, sincerely, that it was this big. I did not know that it was basically a conglomerate or an aggregation of all this stuff under really one entity. And when I looked at that domain name just now, integrity.com, I realized if you go to the news section, so if you go to integrity.com, you go to news, you'll see that in February this year, 2024, they just took over that domain name. So everything that...
Oh, they did take over? They actually sued the owner of integrity.com. There was a lawsuit that the judge ruled against Integrity Marketing Group, but apparently they must have had some sort of settlement after they lost the lawsuit.
February 14th says Integrity acquires integrity.com.
Oh, they try to grab it. If you go to if you go to the comments in if you go to that Reddit, which I've mentioned a few times, Family First Life lawsuit, they actually sued the owner of integrity.com saying, hey, we deserve the domain, but they lost the lawsuit, so they had to pay. That must have been a huge.
Bought them out, basically.
Yeah, they bought the domain. Wow. Does it say what the price was?
No, it doesn't. It is basically a promo piece for integrity. So it doesn't say that at all. It doesn't reference anything like the squabble that they had.
Right.
But it basically says we're running everything. Acquires integrity.com. So they made it into a positive.
Right, I get you.
That's probably one of their NDA requirements is they can't talk about how much.
I would not be surprised if this is one of the most expensive domain purchases ever, competing with sex.com.
Well, they can afford it. They have a lot of money. There's no doubt about that. Hey, David, was there anything before the show or during the show that you thought of that you wanted to bring up, but because we have been meandering along with different topics we haven't gotten to? Is there anything you wanted to mention?
I wanted to mention that the game plan, which I've laid out, make video, send letter, make video, wait for lawsuit threats, do proper complaint. It works. And consult with GusFox.com during that process. I even believe this gentleman can help you edit your YouTube video. A lot of people don't have the talent on editing. Just, we'll help you. Gus Fox will help you. Help you write the letter. Help you on everything if it's insurance related, especially. But you've got the list on that Reddit as well. I'm looking right here. It says below is the list of the 23 states that have enacted the FTC recommended law. And that's, if you click that link, it tells you the 23 states. Actually, it's right there. It's Florida, California, Virginia. It's all the big states.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I think we're getting sort of towards the end of our time here, right, Peter? We could go for an hour and a half.
Yeah, we should. We could. Yep, we're good to go. We probably should say, the typical disclaimers. Don't take this as personal legal advice. You do your own thing, but don't say that Building Fortunes Radio told you to sue the insurance company.
I'm telling you, I don't have a disclaimer. I'm telling you, I know these people are being scammed. I know the technique that works. And I know what will put quite a few $100,000 in your pocket if you do these proper steps.
So, Good deal.
Take that as an opinion or experience. You do with it what you want, but my disclaimer is I'm not recommending.
Neither one of us are attorneys, so we can't give legal advice, but we do appreciate you coming on the show and sharing all this information with us and the audience. And is there anything else you wanted to promote, David? Did you want to mention the Gus Fox website again?
I'd go to Gus Fox. If you need help on any aspect of lead generation insurance or getting that couple of $100,000 from the scammers, Gus Fox is a good place to go. And it's all there. Very big on the word Family First Life lawsuits on that YouTube or Reddit, and you'll see all the information.
Excellent. Well, Peter, if there's nothing else, I'll let you close out the show. I just wanted to thank David for calling in from Israel. It's pretty late at night there now, and we do appreciate you calling in. We did adjust the time a little bit so we wouldn't have you up at 2 or 3 in the morning, so that's kind of ridiculous.
I'm about to go to a bar, just to let you know, so it's a good time.
Well, good deal.
So we should probably just talk a little bit about that. What's it like to be in Israel now? With all the stuff going on, we have the news the way we see it, but how is it over wherever you are?
Wow, I'm in Jerusalem, which really is safe. There's a lot of Jewish here. There's a lot of Arab. A little ways away. A 7-minute walk, which is not very far in suburban. But people are very nice. It's very, very safe. I guess in Tel Aviv, which was a more of a metropolitan area, the rockets from Gaza, they were heading towards Tel Aviv. But I believe because of all the destruction there, there's minimal rockets being fired. But the Arab population of Jerusalem is very, very, or at least the ones that I know, somewhat embarrassed, somewhat respectful, and somewhat like they feel like, hey, this is embarrassing. So people are very low crime.
Wow.
Very safe.
Good to hear that.
Which is normal. You would expect that. Most normal. There's cameras everywhere, so you people really don't want to do anything bad.
So do you actually ever see like rockets being blown up in the sky with the Iron Dome or anything else like that, or is that somewhere else?
That would be somewhere else. I make it seem like we're far away, but if by car I could probably get to Gaza in an hour. But Jerusalem is a little bit higher, so the rockets aren't coming here.
Got it. That's good to hear. Well, thanks for the radio show.
No tourists. So, like, I live in the center of the city. I'm used to seeing all these people from all over the world, and I see all these local people now. So I'm like, hey, I never seen so many local people.
Well, now is that because of the perceived danger, or the real danger, or the real threats?
Yeah, generally countries that are in war have less tourism, as a general rule.
Well, but I figured with Jerusalem being, a main thing, there might still be some people that go.
Yeah,
there
a little bit, not too much, but it's a tourist city, so there's just less, or at all. There's like none. Maybe it'll pick up again.
Well, I'm sure eventually it will, but hopefully everything works out for you and stay safe. So thanks for the great interview. So Scott, why don't you give your website one more time?
Yeah, my websites, my YouTube channel, the link to this radio show, and my phone number, my email is all on my Facebook page. If you go to facebook.com/ScottTexJohnson, ScottTexJohnson, all one word, you can find all those pieces of resources. So thank you, Peter. Thank you, David. This has been a great show, and we appreciate you coming on here. Stay safe.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.